Hi everyone, Dr. Keith Mirante here. Today I want to share a short segment with you about carpal tunnel syndrome. So have you or do you know anyone that's ever had that symptom where it's either tingling into these fingers or burning into those fingers and you just can't write, you can't type? That very well could be carpal tunnel syndrome. Most commonly it's going to be affecting some of these fingers over here. Carpal tunnel syndrome does not affect this side of the hand. And so I'd like to share with you most commonly why carpal tunnel syndrome happens and what we can do to start reversing that. So first and foremost, really important to understand a little bit about the anatomy. And so if we were to take our wrist and we were to cut it and look at it on end, one thing that we know is there's 2 rows of 4 bones and they form an arch. And that arch is almost like the arch to a bridge. And the keystone, which is the middle one, are like these bones right in the middle. Now, you have arteries and veins, and then in the very middle, you got the big nerve bundle. That's the nerve that supplies primarily these few fingers over here. Now, what happens is when your hands are in extension, you're typing, you're writing, it puts a great deal of undue stress on your wrist. Even push-ups, for example, the pressure that gets placed inside your wrist when your hands are in extension in the push-up position or when you're lifting something overhead is tremendous as opposed to when your wrist is in a neutral position. So what happens when your wrist goes into extension or you are doing those push-ups or you're typing or you're writing, what happens is the arch starts to collapse. So these couple bones, they come down and they start to compress into the canal right here. And when they compress and that canal flattens, there's a band right here called the flexor retinaculum. What happens is this band stretches, this arch flattens out, and it starts to put pressure right on that nerve, and that nerve is called the median nerve. It's the primary culprit of carpal tunnel syndrome. And so in order to relieve that, a couple things have to happen. Now typically what they'll do in a surgery, they cut this thing. They cut the flexor retinaculum. The problem when you cut the flexor retinaculum is it creates an unstable surface. There is nothing holding these bones together anymore. It just turns into mush and putty. So how do we go ahead and we start to fix this? Well, the best remedy is, of course, prevention. And so taking very common breaks, very regular breaks. So for every hour, spend about 5 minutes stretching, opening things up. So what you're going to do is a great little couple stretches is to put your wrist into extension like this. What you want to do is you want to stretch all the musculature through here. You want to go like this and get a nice, great stretch right through here. The other thing is we want to strengthen the backside. Those are the muscles that are designed to open that wrist up. So nice easy exercise to place a rubber band around your fingernails and you just go like this. What you're going to do is you're going to strengthen all this musculature and help preserve that arch. Another easy exercise that you can do to help strengthen all this is just take a light dumbbell hanging off, maybe even 2 pounds, 3 pounds is fine, and just go into extension. You're going to strengthen all this musculature and you're going to be able to preserve that arch in the wrist. Now, if you're listening or you have a friend or a family member that's suffering from carpal tunnel syndrome, the first thing that we need to do is rule out that it's something that's coming from the neck. Very oftentimes, if a doctor is not necessarily skilled in differential diagnosis, they'll often commonly mistake carpal tunnel syndrome for a neck issue. The nerves in the neck that span down into the wrist here very commonly mimic carpal tunnel syndrome issues. So what we can do is we can differentiate if it's coming from the cervical spine, the neck, or if it's truly coming from the wrist. If it is coming from the wrist, a couple things that we need to do. Number one, very easily through chiropractic adjustments of the wrist, we can help move these bones back upwards to start to recreate that proper arch in the wrist. What it does is it takes pressure off the most important, the median nerve, helps free that up so you can actually function better, you start to feel better. But not only once we set these bones and we get those sitting in the right place, then we do, of course, need to do the proper rehabilitation. So if you're sitting there and you're listening to this and you think that might be me, bring it up to me, ask the question. We can always help you in the office with that. If you have a family or a friend that's someone that needs our help with this, before they get cut open with the knife, it's a great opportunity to have a natural, safe alternative to having a surgery. So again, my name is Dr. Keith Mirante. Thank you for watching this segment on carpal tunnel syndrome.